What's going on, everybody? It's Davey from the 80s, and you are now entering the Cinema Chop Shop. So park your ass right there. While you're there, hit that subscribe button and that share button and that like button and comment and, make yourself useful. Today, we're going to be talking about something I recently saw. Now, I've been wanting to watch this movie all the way through for a very long time, and I love watching movies where I get introduced to famous actors and actresses at a very young age. And this movie stars none other than Drew Barrymore, I believe, in her first role. And this movie is called Firestarter. Now, Firestarter is a movie from, what year is this movie from? I want to say 1984. This movie's from 1984. And like I said, it stars Drew Barrymore and a bunch of other people you probably never even heard of. So we're not even going to talk about them. But anyway, so The Good. If I'm not mistaken, this book is based off of a Stephen King novel. Yep, Stephen King. Yeah, so it's based off of a Stephen King novel, and it follows a young girl who has pyrokinetic powers and trying to dodge the government. Sound familiar? Yeah, I know. It's a lot of movies and a lot of things that sound exactly like that. And this movie just follows this young girl on the run with her dad, and they're trying to avoid the government while she's also conflicted with trying to control the powers within her. Now, the good in this movie. The good in this movie is Drew Barrymore does a pretty good job as a child actress. She's likable, she's lovable, she's adorable, and all that good stuff. But when she turns on them powers, right, when she gets them fires started, it's a wrap. She over there burning people to a third degree, turning them into ashes. You done. You know what I mean? So Drew Barrymore does a good job as this young girl. I think her name's they call her Charlie, but her name is Charlene. Now her father in this movie also does a pretty good job at what he does. There's something in there that's kind of corny or whatever, but I'll talk about it later. Now, what I like about this movie, I like the idea about the movie. I like the way it's paced. It's kind of, I'll talk about that part later too. The pacing is pretty good for what it is. They have interesting characters, interesting dialogue, and, all that good stuff. So this is pretty much all I got to say about that. Now, I want to know if there's anybody that's read the book. I want to know if this is an honestly good interpretation of this book. Whoever's seen the book and the movie, if you've seen both, then let me know and give me your honest opinion if it's a good interpretation or not. So, the bad. There's quite a lot bad. So, in my opinion, bad things are things that are kind of like bad, but at the same time, it's something that you could kind of look past. This movie is kind of long, okay? Very long. I think it's almost 2 hours. So it's kind of a slow burn but there's like fun stuff that get in the way. All right, there's that. All right, another thing. Some of the stunts look kind of corny, okay? So there's one scene in particular where she hits somebody with like some flaming object, and they go off flying, and it just looks funny. It looks like he just got hit and got pulled with a little rope pulley, and he flies into like a tree or something. It looks kind of like, it kind of looks badly done, okay? Another thing. I'm going to just say that for the bad. So those two things, I'm in a dilemma right now because I don't know if it's bad or if it's atrocious. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just, it's bad. All right, so if you watch 80s movies, you know that 80s movies are a big slice of cheese sometimes, right? You know it could be very cheesy. I'm talking about nachos grande cheesy, right? And every time the dad has like these telekinetic powers, like some Charles Xavier stuff, and he always does this in order to get his control over people. And it always has this funny noise like hilarious. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. I don't even know why they added that sound effect in, but they had to add it in. It just makes everything super funny. Every time he does it, he's like Hilarious, dude. Hilarious. Now, the atrocious, all right? The atrociousness of this movie, honestly, some of the dialogue is kind of like corny, but it's like 80s, so you kind of forgive it. You know what? A lot of this stuff is the 80s, man. So I understand how 80s movies are. 80s movies are like very corny, they're cheesy. And in my heart, I always forgive it. Of course, there's some serious 80s films out there. I'm not trying to like, put it off to the side. It's just a lot of cheese comes out of the 80s, man. And you need to realize that a lot of that stuff is just of the era. So you have to kind of forgive it. Now, was that its intent? That's probably what makes it atrocious, is that it's not trying to be cheesy. It's trying to be a serious film, but then it comes off as kind of giddy and kind of funny and kind of comedic, right? You have this dude like who's trying to control people by smashing his faces on the side and looks like he has the worst migraine or the worst case of gas that you've ever seen in your life, right? But to me, that's what makes these movies kind of like unique. It makes them fun. It makes them interesting to watch. Also, some of the like practical effects that they use in this film are kind of like, what are you doing? Like, it looks kind of like it's kind of off in a way. So, what do I think about this movie overall? Overall, for a first role for Drew Barrymore, I honestly think that she did a pretty good job as a child actress. I like the movie. When you really look at the era and you see that Stephen King has a lot of books that were made into films, you know that these films aren't always necessarily great. They're not great. Like, a lot of his movies that were created, they're not great. They're very cheesy, right? So you have like, some people go watch Christine and think it's cheesy. Some people go watch Cujo and think it's cheesy. Some people go watch Firestarter and think it's cheesy. It's a lot of his films that come out and you can feel that they're very cheesy. And guess what? Most of them are from the 80s, right? But this movie, although it's from the 80s, it does like a pretty good job at it keeps itself moving. It makes itself comedic, not trying to be, but, it is what it is. Now, since I know I'm kind of biased for movies like this, I like Stephen King, I like horror movies and things like that, so I'm kind of biased, man. An average person might watch this movie and they'd be like, you know what, man, this movie, I give it like a 2 out of 5, right? Okay, that's cool. But me personally, I give it a 3 out of 5. I have one bump higher, man. That horror bias in me. I give it a 3 out of 5. It's fun to watch. It's like kind of like watching like an X-Men ripoff in a way as well too. And it's funny because I thought about doing this back to back with like a double feature video with Freaks and Firestarter because they both kind of like share the same genre, but it is what it is. I just decided to make 2 different videos. But in all honesty, this movie is very, very interesting. Not interesting, but it's fun to watch. Now, if you don't end up liking the movie for its story, you're damn sure going to get a laugh out of this movie. Some of the stuff that happens in this movie with that, you got to do with a freaking pirate eye patch. You got fireballs all over the place. You got people flying off into trees and shit. Trust me, if you don't like the story, you're going to get a cool little laugh out of this movie. But in all honesty, I honestly like Firestarter. It was a fun watch. It's something that I might even consider buying on Blu-ray. I think Shout Factory has a little, they got a little Blu-ray release of this movie. I might have to go ahead and order that up, when I get back to work. But, right now I'm about to go ahead. I'm about to go get these homemade cookies that my wife made. We're about to munch on them with a big old glass of milk. So you already know. It's Davey from the 80s, and you are now exiting the Cinema Chop Stop. Go ahead and get your ass out of here. Not without hitting that damn subscribe button. All right? Hit the subscribe button. Do it. You ain't doing nothing. You just sitting at home. You just watching TV. You ain't doing nothing with your life. Hit the subscribe button. Do it now.